Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Getting with the Program, talking about the Season 1 finale of RWBY, Black and White. I am your ever-friendly Pokeprof, joined once again by Kitty Kross.
Hello!
And Ashen Sky.
Hello, everybody.
Holy crap, this episode.
I told you.
This was a season finale, definitely. Also, before we go anywhere, two things. One, I called Sung Wukong, because that's the name of our monkey guy.
Except without the G, but yes.
It's still Sun Wukong.
It's a silent G.
It's Goku, honey. It's the Monkey King, complete with freaking power pole.
But doesn't extend.
No, it splits up into nunchucks that are also shotguns, because this series, everything has to be a gun, or a rocket launcher, or a bazooka, or something of that extent.
But the fact that the staff, it starts as a staff, converts to nunchucks, which are also guns.
Well, here's the thing. The whole staff it's also nunchucks has been done in other series, so... I think, what was it? I want to say Keelik from Soul Calibur was like that at one point.
No, Keelik just has a staff.
Really?
Yeah, Maxie is the one with the nunchucks in Soul Calibur.
There was some character in a fighting game who would go back and forth. I don't know. I'm just recalling differently. But the other thing I called Penny. I freaking called her. It turns out Penny's a robot. It's like her back literally opens up. She gets all these knives, and then she fights like frickin' Irelia from League of Legends. It's like literally just waves a bunch of swords around and slashes at people.
I don't know. She could still be the master of Magnet.
No, that's Pyrrha. Although it makes me wonder what a fight with the two of them together would be like. The fact that you're laughing tells me that's gonna happen eventually.
I say nothing.
You say nothing, but you laugh when I said something, so I'm gonna say yes, that's gonna happen. So I can't wait. But yeah, no, this episode is like the last one. It's continuing the story from the previous episode, where we're basically trying to figure out what's going on. In this case, it's all about them trying to figure out who was doing the thievering, blah blah blah. I speak good. Who was behind the thefts in the previous episode, because a couple of dust stores got hit and had all their dust stolen. And originally, Blake said, it's like, oh, it's like, it can't be the White Fang. The White Fang wouldn't do this, or they wouldn't want to. Turns out, at least the henchmen are the White Fang. Mm-hmm. Although you couldn't tell just by their outfits, because they just had like the White Fang insignia on their backs. You know, otherwise though, they looked entirely human. It's like,
Well, they were wearing helmets.
I understand what they're wearing. They were wearing helmets on, but for me, it's like, because of other series and a little bit of this one so far, just because we don't know like the true intentions of everyone so far, I would not put it past the creators of this series to say, it's like, oh yeah, no, those aren't members of the White Fang. They were just dressing up to frame the White Fang. It's like, I don't know how accurate that is, but you know, that was what I got out of it. Because you would think that they would be able to react a little bit better if they were actually Faunus. Because from what we've seen so far, the Faunus do appear to be overall better equipped in a lot of respects than humans.
Well, remember when Blake was had a hold of, well, again, pointing out that we see the return of Roman Torchwick as the one leading the White Fang, apparently, or at least working with them. Yeah. And when Blake had him pinned, and she was confronting the other White Fang members, you know, they were hesitating because, you know, she was a Faunus.
I'm just saying, you know, it's like, I would not put it past Torchwick to do something like that, to basically make it so it looks, he can put the blame on somebody else and get off scot-free with his own work. I will say the one thing I didn't like about the episode was just how fast Weiss came around in the end. It's like the fact that she kind of just goes and it's like, you know, I've had 12 hours to think about this. It's like, you should be coming to us and talking to us. It's like, you're not working with them anymore, blah, 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 blah. It's like, That's actually, I would have to say, with the entire series so far, has probably been my biggest issue with Weiss, is that she seems to be very much this very hard-headed kind of character who is like, would, in most normal situations and circumstances, would never budge from what her current thoughts are, and yet it feels like she's the one who's having to change every episode to go, okay, let me rethink this, let me do this. It's like, let me change my thoughts just so we can go back to everything being hunky-dory in the end. I'm not sure how accurate that is. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, she is the most hard-headed character of the bunch. Mm-hmm. So, especially after a conversation with Professor Port, I'm sure she's learned to open up and change her view on a few things. And especially because she said, she's had 12 hours to think about it. She's probably talked to Yang in that time, even though we don't get really to see it that much. But I'm sure that there was some discussion there that helped her rethink her stance on the things.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Scott? What are your thoughts on that so far?
On Weiss and Blake and their button heads and everything?
That amongst other things in the episode. You've actually been pretty quiet so far.
Sorry. Honestly, it's nice to see a little bit more of what's supposedly going on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
We've got now 3 big mystery characters to think about before the next season.
Mm-hmm.
One of which I believe was the shadowy figure from the very first episode.
That is correct.
Yeah, Little Miss Firehands. It was like
I'm not going to use the name that I came up with for.
What was that?
Apparently legal.
Oh, yeah, because her voice actress seems a little young.
Young for the role.
Just from what we've seen of her. To be entirely honest, by the sound of it, it almost sounded like Blake or Yang. Their voice actress was doing that role.
I think the point is that the character is supposed to be around the same age as Ruby and the others.
She sounds a lot younger than Ruby.
I wouldn't go that far, and I find it weird if she is. It's because Torchwick himself seems to be like a character who seems to be a lot older than Ruby and the others, and it feels like this. Like Little Miss Firehands is supposed to be at least his age.
Speaking of, wait, no, not Roman.
What?
But that does bring me up to the next thought. Queen has pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was an interesting little text, and it looks like it was actually to one of Ozpin's teammates. If the little information on his little data thing was accurate, it says Ozpin's show team is not available, and it's like other things not available. Why would that be popping up for him unless he was actually talking to another teammate?
Someone was sending the message to him. He didn't type it out.
But no, so we have that mystery. We have the mystery of Miss Red, Miss All Red in terms of Little Miss Firehands, of what her role in all this. We know she's a villain considering she's working with Torchwick. What's the third mystery I'm missing? Then we got the mystery of Penny, because Penny at the end of the episode, after she shows off her, Irelia, knife floating powers.
Well, they're not necessarily floating. Did you notice how they were attached?
I would also like to say that's bullshit. Because I'm sorry, Little Wires is not going to give her as fine of control as we saw in that particular episode.
She's got no strings to hold her down.
Yeah, but I'm going to take a wild guess that yes, she's based off Pinocchio.
She's got plenty of strings to pin others down, though.
Yeah. But yeah, that you got it pretty much right off the bat there, honey.
Well, I thought of the name. I thought of the way she was acting, and it's like it's a classic trope when it comes to robot or inhuman characters, is you have to make them awkward socially, and you have to just make them not human in that respect, for lack of a better term, to make them seem like they are not human. It's like, I know some people in the real world can actually be that kind of awkward. Lord knows I was like that when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely a common trope to see people do with androids and other inhuman characters, is you have to take out some of those aspects to make them seem less human. And the way she was like, "Are you really my friend?" in the previous episode definitely signaled to me. It's like, okay, so something is definitely up with her. So that's what, and considering her name and the name of all the other characters have been references to, literature or mythical figures, it didn't take much for me to go, okay, so she's probably Pinocchio.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, we've got Sun Wukong. He's like point for point. He's Goku. He's got the Super Saiyan hair and everything.
He didn't have to work for it, though.
He didn't have to work for it, but am I wrong?
I wouldn't say Super Saiyan hair. It's just blonde.
It's just blonde, but if that was not an obvious nod/reference to DBZ and to Super Saiyan hair, I would literally eat my hat. Because, honestly, it feels like that would be what they were going for. Definitely the real fun about this episode, I think, was just to get to see a little bit more fighting, because that's actually the thing that I think we've seen the least in this series is the fighting that Monty Ohm was really well known for back in the day. Everyone's so used to things like Haloid and Dead Fantasy being literally all over the place. This is a much slower way of showing things when it comes to what he can do than I think most people were used to at the time. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, and I'll be the first one to say, it's like, yeah, you have to have story to help prop things up, but you would have thought there would be a little bit more fights than what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
It could have just been like growing pains because they're getting used to what would be a proper balance and what to do here and there for these characters, but that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, they were still finding their footing up to this point, I think.
Oh, yeah. And it's not like Monty Ohm's old work where it's going to be like, hey, here's a fight, enjoy. Let's see. Anything else do you think we got to cover?
Not at the moment, no.
What about you, Sky? You got anything you can want to add in?
Not really. Nothing really comes to mind. I'm looking forward to seeing the next season, though.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Things really start to pick up in volume 2.
Yeah, and I believe, and from this point onward, Sky here is actually blind as well, so Kitty is the only one of us three who knows anything beyond season 1. And that evil laugh signifies that she is really excited for us to see what the hell's going to happen. But that's going to be a while yet. Well, if that's all we have to cover then yeah. I will say I was a little disappointed by the lack of Nora, but but hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more of all these other characters in the future.
And plenty of new ones.
Oh yeah, well, no, I'm actually curious on how Sun Wukong here is gonna interact, because he's kind of just like hit on Blake right off the bat, and then he's just kind of following around her for the last few days. He literally says in the beginning of the episode, it's like, oh, you've said nothing in the last 2 days other than small talk. It's like, have you literally just been sitting at that little diner just having a cup of tea for the last 2 days? It's like, guys, go take a shower. Do something.
Oh, trust me, there's going to be a lot more involving him and some other new additions come the next volume.
All right. Well, that's good to know. But with that said, I think we'll go ahead and cap this off here. And we'll go ahead and see you guys for the next one. But until then, y'all, you have a wonderful day, wonderful night, wonderful morning, depending on where you are. And until then, stay frosty.
Take care, y'all.
Gotta say nothing, Sky?
The end? No.
Goodbye,
To be continued. This is not JoJo.
Goodbye, folks.
Bye.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and I wanted to thank you for watching yet another episode of Getting With the Program. If you got any suggestions on how to make the show better, or you're just wanting to say hi, leave a comment below. If you also like and subscribe, that will definitely help us out on the channel. Also, be sure to check out the upcoming episode of Fascinating Fiction, a solo series in which I'm wanting to do a little bit more scripted content. You can also follow both me and Kitty, and I believe also Sky as well, on social media, mostly Twitter, and as well as when we stream on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays over on Twitch, where we mostly just play games that I've never played before and goof around. Hope to see you guys there, but until then, stay frosty.